Well, hi everyone. We want to welcome you to our Non-Del Growth Accelerator. My name's Ginger Bell, and I have Matt Coles with me. How are you today, Matt?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you. Super excited about this session. It's been a successful session so far, so very glad that we can get everyone here together.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as we're getting logged in here, I will put into the chat the files. We are recording this, so you'll be able to get a copy of the recording. We'll send that out tomorrow. So if you miss any of it, you can go back and watch it. And then I am sending over right now what we'll be using and working from. And then as people continue to sign on, I'm going to let them in. If you have questions, type them in the chat box and we'll make sure and address them as we go along. So we'll go ahead and get started because we have a lot of great content to go through today. First of all, this is set up kind of in a workshop. So we're giving you not just information, but kind of homework assignments. And each of our sessions has built one into the other. And so this is our fifth in our series for this year. And we began with defining your leadership identity, how to optimize. We went through how to write a job description, scope of work as far as procedures, how to build your team. Last month, we did delivering a repeatable client experience. So going through all those different elements of the loan cycle and how to find out where you can really hone in on creating a wow experience. And this month, we're talking about creating those partnerships. And so this is critical, obviously, in your business. And so each month, what we're doing is we're focusing on one particular area and we're giving you some exercises. The workbook is very much a workbook. So, Matt, we've designed that so you can fill those out and be able to, drop those in as far as your answers. So make sure and grab that and print it off. I will, in the follow-up email tomorrow, send all the recordings from our previous, as well as all of the workbooks. So if you have missed a session at all, you can go back and grab that session.
Yeah, and the workbooks are shareable, right? I mean, like
Yep.
if so, as you're bringing on, if you're growing, if you got new salespeople onto your team, or you're trying to add some value maybe to a struggling loan officer, or maybe there's someone who just needs a pick me up or some changes of ideas, share this content with them so that they can take advantage of it as well.
Yeah, and I think that's it is, put a place on your computer where you're putting these in, especially if you're scaling. And the idea in doing this, Matt, is as you're growing your business or your team or whatever you're doing, to really look at where are those areas that will help you grow the most. And so one of those areas obviously is creating those partnerships. So let's go ahead and jump in. Um, you know, I love this quote. You don't chase great partners, you attract them by being one. And that's so important to be able to really think of yourself as a great partner. Sometimes I think we think of those partners just sending us business, but it's really a two-way street. And so it's really being a partner in their business as well. And so what we're going to talk about is how to really attract that right partner. And then how do you convert that partner, especially if you have some that may not be an A partner, but maybe a B partner. So how do you convert them into being that? And then how do you retain them? How do you make sure that they are staying as your top partners, that you're delivering them that repeatable client experience? So those are the things that we're going to talk about today. And the first exercise, and Matt, you're really good at this, is defining your ideal referral partner. And so this is a great exercise to go through to think about each of these areas: realtor, builder, CPA, tax, attorney, all of these different things. What are the ideal traits that you're looking for? And then write down some of those examples, right?
Yeah, I think that this is one of those things where you got to kind of, your tribe sets your vibe, right? We've all
Yeah.
heard the saying before, right? And so you got to figure out exactly who you're trying to get business from. And listen, I work with a lot of MLOs that try to think that they can cast a wide net with realtors. And then when you give them data and you say, by the way, that realtor that you're trying to attract closed 4 loans in the last 2 years. Like, is that someone that you really want to be spending time on, or do you want to maybe focus in on a high end luxury property realtor or whatever it might be, whatever you're trying to look for? And there's probably more categories here that we could probably add.
Yeah.
So you don't need to just be solely focused on these 4 right here, but you gotta understand how you want to build your book of business so you can find those right referral partners.
Yeah. And really knowing who's getting the business is important. NAR just released some statistics a few months back, and 75% of realtors across the country only closed one deal last year. So who you're working with is important. And to find those top realtors, they're busy, right? And they get a ton of phone calls. And you know that because I hear that all the time. It's like, I'm trying to make phone calls into realtors. They'll tell me, and you get that all the time where they're like, what are you going to do for me? How much business are you going to send me? Or they want you to do something as far as marketing. And this is where it's really important, Matt, to really think of yourself as that strategic partner, the value you're bringing, not just you're going to give them business or you're going to give them money or things like that, but
Yeah,
really makes
yeah.
that
So,
partnership.
sorry, Ginger. I was gonna say, even with this, like I always, especially in my world, try to go like one level deeper, like, right? So if you know that you're trying to target realtors, who else is that realtor working with that you're a colleague of in the industry, and network with that person as well,
Yeah.
right? Try to develop a referral relationship. And I use title partners as a great
Yeah.
example in this realtor side all the time, right? Title is always in front of realtors.
Yep.
And when you're a loan officer or a business owner, I don't know why you wouldn't try to talk to as many title officers as you possibly could, because they're in front of realtors all the time.
Yeah.
And so you're just trying to find the right avenue. So when you are, it's way easier to row in the same direction if you got someone by your side, trying to go get after like a top level realtor than just trying to do it solo, just based upon your own expertise and professionalism. It's always great to have a warm handoff with someone who maybe that they're already working with.
Yeah, and title companies are a great example because I know I built my business off of being able to do education through title partners, title companies where, they're always wanting to hold a workshop or something that they're doing, an event, and you're that expert. So think about what you can do as far as education to be able to come in and bring them value. So those are the kind of things to think of, and we'll talk about that a little bit at the end. But it really begins with identifying what's that scorecard. And so who deserves more of your time, not just who you're chasing after, but those who deserve to have your attention because you are a good partner. And I think that's important for you to really focus on is you are that good partner. You are bringing them value. And so think about those partnerships. Partnerships are built on trust. And when you're talking about building a partnership with a realtor or a CPA, it's what I call transferred trust. And so, you can keep your word, but what you're trusting is that they're going to also deliver that same experience. And so, you could be working with someone and they're horrible at dealing with the customers. And so you want to make sure you are aligning yourself with the right partners who are delivering the same kind of experience that you are. So when you're looking at this scorecard, you want to think about what are they doing as far as providing that client experience. What are they doing as far as their visibility? What are they doing on social media? What are they doing for their communication? What are they doing for their long-term growth? And Matt, you're really good at this as far as having those questions to talk about what the partners are doing for their long-term growth. So not just where are you at today, but where are you going to tomorrow, right?
Yeah, there's an opportunity for you to really kind of like set your parameters for how you want to operate. Like I know myself personally, I can't work alongside somebody who is disorganized on a consistent basis. Occasional disorganization, fine, right? But like I need structure in my day, and I need structure in the way that I go about my job. And if my referral partner that I'm working with is just kind of fly by the seat of the moment and I'll figure it out when I figure it out, like that just doesn't jive with how I like to operate. So that person may not be a right fit for me to be a referral partner to. And it may be a better fit for somebody else on my team. I can figure that part out. But there's just an opportunity for you to kind of set your, I don't know, I can't change a leopard's spots, right? I think that's what I think my wife has told me that 17 times. But you gotta, like, if you know who you are as a person and as a business leader, don't try to cram everyone into your box. And I've been doing this a long time, and I love when I sit across from an LO and they say, I hate working with realtors. All right, then don't work with realtors. Like, I mean, there's plenty of other opportunities to go ahead and get your business from somewhere else. But, if you say that you hate working with realtors, trust me, a realtor is going to realize that pretty quickly.
Yeah, exactly. So the next we go through really going through that evaluation. And this is one of those things, knock out some time to be able to do this. Look at who your existing referral partners are and who you want them to be, and go through each of these criteria, and then score them and give them a number. So you're looking at communication, professionalism, client experience, production potential. So maybe you have someone that's an up and coming. Don't look at just where they are, but where they're going to. Do they have a good plan? Are they building that? Do they have a good marketing plan? What is their reputation? Because you're going to set transferred trust. So whatever their reputation is, you're working with them, that's going to also be transferred to you. So what kind of reputation do they have? How are they as far as collaborating to be able to work through problems, conversations, through things like that? And then getting into their trustworthiness, that's a really big one. Their growth mindset. So are they growing? Are they expanding? Do they, have the right mindset in order to build their business? And then that relationship fit. I always look at it, if I'm going to get a text or a phone call or an email from someone at 10 o'clock at night, am I going to roll my eyes and go, oh God, now I have to deal with that? Or are you going to be like, man, yeah, I'm going to take care of this right away? So, what that relationship fit is into you and your business is very important. And then also the referral potential. And you talk about, title companies. They are a great referral partner. So you look at that. What's the referral potential? What can that be? And going through those and each of these categories, Matt, is really one of those things. Give it a number. And then add those numbers up on each of these levels. And in the workbook, I have this. So you can go through, write them down and score them, and then divide them. And the goal, Matt, is to get them into A, B, and C level partners. And so the A level partners, and I'll let you talk about that, Matt, as far as really what that looks like, on what an A level partner looks like.
Well, what we're talking, if you go back to the previous screen, there's a couple on there that are, incredibly important to me, which one is the growth mindset. If you are resistant to change and you tell me in my first phone call that you've been doing something for 30 years and that's your lead in for it, right? Like, I love tenure and I love opportunity, but you can't, this business, anyone on this phone call or anyone who's watching this knows that this business needs to be very fluid with change and
Right.
adaptation of what's happening in the industry today. You can't be set in your ways with what was being done, geez, even like 2 years ago at this
Yeah.
point, right? And then the collaboration, right? Which I feel is incredibly important because if I'm going to share my ideas and my time and my opportunities that I think that are going to fit your business, and you just basically, Ginger, remember being in high school and you had a group project, and there was that one person who
Yep.
never showed up and never did anything and just kind of took the grade, whatever they took. Like, that doesn't work for me as an adult, right? And so you're just kind of like, hey, I can't do all this heavy lifting just to try to make us look better at an
Yeah.
opportunity. So I really look at those two.
Yep.
And I do see, if you go on to the next screen, that the A level partners, they are as enthusiastic to strategize as they are to get a transaction done, if that makes sense.
No, 100%.
right? Like we all in this business get paid when the deal closes,
Yep.
right? So there's nothing more transactional than what we do. I don't get paid unless XYZ signs, closes, and disperses. That's when I get paid.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's all that goes up to it, which is super exciting for some of my partners that I look at and I go, I'm planning road shows, I'm doing training, I'm talking to their LOs about, broker to banker, whatever it might be, right? Just all the opportunities that we have, and they're enthusiastic about it, and the enthusiasm is contagious, and that helps spur me along on a great way. So A-level partners, you know, um, they're not just taking in referrals, they're collaborating with me. They have excellent communication. They have everything that you share here, but it's the enthusiasm at which they're trying to go about the opportunities that we present together. That's what attracts me to the A-level partners.
Yeah, exactly. And so looking at that, what are those characteristics? Are they consistently giving you those referrals? Is it strong communication, the shared values, that collaborative mindset you talked about, the long-term growth, and then that high trust factor? And then think about the contact. So how often are you contacting them? Is it weekly? Is it bi-weekly? Those are the relationships that deserve your most attention. That's the focus you want to get. And then think about then what you're building for that strategy. So that collaboration map. So these are your partners that you want to do co-branded events with, that you want to talk about doing some joint marketing, some VIP client updates, some client experience. Those are the kind of things like these are the people you want to invest your time with. And then think about personalized appreciation. Even Matt, you're really good or used to be really good about writing personalized thank you notes. And so, things like that, they are the ones that you want to go above and beyond and give that wow experience to. And then this is a part that I think a lot of people miss out on, Matt. Business planning conversations. When you become a true partner, you're building your business together. And so having those conversations is very important, and creating a strategy around that is very important. When you do that and you become a part of their business as much as they are a part of your business, that's a true collaboration. That's a true partnership.
Yeah, I think this is one of I'm super sensitive to this today and right now at this moment in time because I just finished up my one-on-ones, and we have an incredibly young sales team over here at FirstFunding. Um, they're all probably in their mid-20s. Maybe the oldest is in their early 30s, and it is so eye-opening to me that they're not treating their best customers, and the frequency of contact is the one that I'm hyper focused on right now. I don't understand why, if you have an A client, why you would not be reaching out to them on a weekly basis, either to do a recap of what happened last week or what's ahead for the week ahead or whatever it might be. And they look at me and go, I don't have time to do all that. And I go, you only have 5A relationships, right? Figure it out, right? You got to find that time
One a day.
yeah, you got to be able to do that. And it's very, very eye-opening for me that everyone wants to treat everyone equally. When I look at my customer list, I mean, there are customers that get a once a month touch, and there are customers that get a once a week touch, and there are customers that get once a quarter touch, right? And so you're just trying to figure that part out, and you need to hold yourself accountable for that, because if you go back to what the reason why we want to do this, and this is very funny to me, is that our people that we consider referral partners are getting solicited by our competitors all
Yeah,
the time.
all the time.
And you want to make sure that when you're talking to somebody that they just go, you know what, I got Matt over at FirstFunding. They always take great care of me. I got what I need. I don't have any cracks in the relationship.
Yep.
If you go too long, whether you know it or not, some crack is going to develop, and you may not get the opportunity to fix it.
Yep. You can think of it, it's a relationship. And so nurturing that relationship is critical. And part of that is, communication. And so, it's like I've been married for 35 years and we still do date nights. And that's what keeps us married for 35 years because, you just can't be complacent. And you have to think about, what are those special events? What are those special things? Make it special. People want to feel special. They want to feel appreciated. And it's important in a partnership to do that. Okay, so those are A level. So those are our best ones. Those are ones we're spending the most time with. Then, based on how you are rating, then you have your B level partners. And so these are the ones that you're getting business from. They're not an A. Maybe they're growing, but these are the partners that have potential, but they're not fully developed yet. And so that's the thing, for your account executives as well. It's like, who's growing, who is sending in some business, who do I maybe need to help to get them to get more business. And so that contact frequency is going to change. So that's every 2 to 4 weeks. But making sure you're doing that and having a strategy, your coffee meetings, educational updates, put them into email. I get so frustrated, Matt, that you guys have a database and that's your gold. Your network, I had a conversation with Todd Duncan last week. We were just talking about, your network and building it. And that is truly, your network is your net worth. And so you need to be emailing them, sharing your market updates, doing webinars, events, adding that value consistency, because that B level partner can become that A level, but it takes nurturing. You just don't want to spend all your time there.
Yeah, there's a great example I have of an account executive at one of our takeout investors. And I could see that the effort was there, right? The effort to make a referral was there. And I was trying to, we would take in the leads and we would work with them, but they weren't excellent leads, right? And so, but I saw that the effort was there. And so I worked with that partner to say, hey, maybe you're not asking the right qualifying questions for yourself, because they're not going to be, that wasn't a great referral for you or for me. And the effort that we were able to get into to put together, they moved from a B level to an A level pretty quickly. And so it's the effort that goes into the Bs that's very important. And I do appreciate the opportunity to help people and just basically say, like, listen, man, I appreciate the fact that you're referring business to us. Let's just make sure that we have clear communication, open communication, and consistent communication.
Yeah, that's important. Then we have our third category, which is our C-level partners. So this is like nurture, low in, alignment. Maybe these are people that you have limited engagement. They don't send a lot of referrals. Maybe those characteristics that we're looking at are not there. So not great at communication, not organized. Maybe there's not chemistry. I mean, some people you meet, it just doesn't jive. And that's okay. You only need so many of your A level, and the goal is, and if all you have is C level partners right now, then what you want to do is then put together a strategy to go out and get more of those A level or the B levels and moving them up. But you
You know
don't
what I
want to
love,
necessarily forget these.
you know what I love about these is that I was recently in a classroom of about 40 people, and they were talking about email campaigns or whatever it had to be, and the person who raised their hand said, I like to have emails sent out to everyone, regardless of whether they're a good partner or not, because at least my name is in the inbox. And I just go, like in my head, I'm just thinking like, you're treating everyone as if they are a better referral partner than they actually even like you. And so I started thinking about this, like, you might want to rank yourself as a referral partner as we're doing this. Because if you have limited engagement and are curse on the phone or terrible communicator or don't feed back opportunities, like, you are probably someone's C-level partner, and you need to evaluate that for yourself.
Yeah.
I look at this and I go, just make sure that we give what we get, right? And so if you want to be treated like an A-level partner, make sure you're treating your coworker, your colleagues, whatever it might be. But this oftentimes I see people who think that they have an A-level partner, but the other side of it looks at them as a C-level partner. Happens way too often.
Well, and honestly, sometimes, Matt, that comes from, it's the path of least resistance. So you can have a C-level partner that you love talking to. that you enjoy their relationship, that, the communication is fine, all that it's like great, but they're not sending you any business and they're not building their business, that's not an A-level partner. So that's someone that's maybe a friend. And so you have to have a hard conversation with yourself. When I was a sales manager in wholesale, same thing, account executives, where they'd be like calling on the same, brokers over and over and over again. It's like they're not sending you any business. I mean, you need to look at this. So where are you putting your time? This is a business. And so look at that and have those hard conversations with yourself or with your team. Sometimes going through this, and for those of you who are, attending this, who have a team, this is something I would go through your entire team with. And I would really put some time into this to have them do the same exercises with their entire partnership, what their strategy is, because it's well worth it and it's an eye-opening exercise. Okay, so in the workbook, we have a partner organization worksheet. And so once you've gone through and you've given the scores, you've divided everyone up into your A, B, and C, this is where you can put that. And so we have a place in there you can put their name, the industry, where they're at, where the potential is, because, if they're a B and a potential to be an A, you want to do that. And sometimes, Matt, you have A's that become C's. And so you need to continually go through this. And then last contact is important because that comes into the accountability. So this is one of those things, and you could make up one of these for each one of your contacts if you want to. There's, different organizational platforms you can use, like Asana or Monday. You can, categorize them, whatever you want to do. But this is important because this keeps you accountable to when that last contact was. And then next step. Matt, this is something that I think a lot of us miss, where it's like, what's the next thing I'm going to do with them? Not what I'm doing right now, but what's the next step? Is it business planning? Is it something, as far as being able to do a joint, event together? Those are things to look at and to build on those.
Yeah, absolutely. And the last contact, that is accountability. And you would be surprised. And this happens to me all the time too, right? Like one day turns into 3 days, turns into 5 days, turns into 10 days. And all of a sudden you look back, you're like, dude, I haven't talked to my favorite or my best referral partner in a week or 2 weeks. You got to make sure that you are holding yourself accountable for that.
Yep, that's very, very important. And so, okay, I'm gonna move on to the next one. It looks like we need to meet someone maybe. So these are questions to be able to ask before pursuing a partnership. And so, Matt, I'm gonna let you cover some of those while I'm gonna mute someone here.
Yeah, no worries. I had a great partner at my previous job who basically said, "Do I generally enjoy working with this person?" And it makes me laugh every time I look at that question because, um, we were selling reverse mortgages, and he would always say, like, "Do you like working with senior borrowers? Do senior borrowers like working with you? Because if you get super mad when they, send over pages 1, 3, 5, 7 of their bank statement, like." Maybe you're not a good partner for them, right? Type of thing. And so you just listen. I've been doing this a long time, and I have met every type of personality out there. And there are many times when I hang up the phone, I'd say, I never want to have a beer with that person I just talked to.
Mhm.
Right? I never want to hang out with that person. That person is a jerk and terrible at what they do, or whatever it might be. And that would not be someone that I would like to have a referral relationship with. And so you just want to make sure you're taking that. And then the proactive communication, that's so incredibly important in our line of work,
Mhm.
that if you can see, and many of us on this call or who are watching this call, if you can see the problem 5 steps ahead, you better address it before it becomes like the last second. And I see way too many people that wait till the last second when I know they knew that this was going to be an issue 2 or 3 days ago, right? That type of thing.
Yep.
And then it's collaboration versus transaction. We talked about this already. At the end of the day, we do live in a transactional employment situation. Every one of us on his phone only gets paid when transactions close. but it has to go beyond the transaction. And if you're not collaborating with people, you're gonna fall into a ring the bell every time something closes, and you'll never hear from them again until you have to ring the bell again.
Yeah. And I think it's important, Matt, because sometimes we're fearful of firing a client or a potential or a partner. Um,
Oh, I have the solution for that. The solution is I'm going to let you seek greatness elsewhere.
yeah, I love it.
Right? That is my go-to line. I am not a roadblock. If you don't like working with me or my company or one of my colleagues, by all means, search greatness elsewhere. Right?
And
Like,
it's honestly liberating. I remember the first client I fired, and it was, I mean, they had good business. I mean, great business, fantastic. But they were hard on the staff and they were horrible at communication. They never did follow through. And every time I got a call from them, my stomach would get tight in a knot. And it's like, you know what? Can't do this. And so I don't remember, it wasn't, get greatness elsewhere, but something, it was nice. And what I found is I had more time, I had more energy, I built my business. I ended up doubling my business
yeah,
because it wasn't that, oh, kind of dread thing. So if you have a partner you need to fire, then go through that checklist with them and have honest communication with them. Say, you know what? Here's where we're having a difficult time, and it's a relationship. And so if we can, work on this, then we can move forward. And if we can't, then it's not going to work out.
yeah. There's a morality side and there's morals to what we have in our industry too,
Yeah.
right? And so I not too recently, maybe a couple of years ago, had to go through the same process where just morally, this person didn't jive with what I was trying to accomplish in my career, and had to do the same thing, right? And so you just wanted to make sure I for my own goodwill, just could not stomach the idea of trying to make it work because it was helping my paycheck.
Yeah.
So we decided to part ways.
Yeah. So now let's talk about putting some thought into doing this as you're building and looking for new partners. And some people don't like working off of scripts. I'm not a script person, but I like having mapped out what I'm going to say. And so, it's kind of like Matt, when we prepare for these presentations, we have our base that we want to talk about. I'll make a slide deck, but we know where we're going to go with it, right? The same thing when you're thinking about pitching partners. Make sure you know what it is. And going through this on the right hand side, you'll see, what do you offer? Speed and certainty, communication, if you're doing co-branded marketing, if you have niche products, what you do for your post closing, those are things, that's the value you bring. And so there's a couple of examples that we have down here for some pitches. I help realtors close more deals by guaranteeing clear to close in 21 days, sending weekly status updates so they're never left guessing. Whatever that is, have that down and make it to where it just becomes a part of your regular vocabulary that you immediately can go into it and you don't have to be searching for something, right?
Well, this is probably the hardest thing for a lot of people to do, which is to get a testimonial on yourself.
Yeah.
It's very hard. At least I find it difficult to ask my best partners in my best relationships, why do you like working with me? What do I do right that sets me apart? And if you can get a couple of nuggets from those questions, that's how you want to be pitching yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, and just do that. I mean, call your best partners and say, what just that. Why do you
Why
like?
do you like me?
Yeah. Yeah. I just need to know
Yeah.
exactly what is it. But just let them know. Say, what are some of the things that you like working and share it back. So don't just come in saying, hey, this is what I like, but saying, hey, Matt, one of the things I love about working with you is you're great at communication. You're, quick to respond. You're a lot of fun to be around. And I can throw anything at you and you can say, I got this.
There's actually a pretty it's been a minute since I've done it, but there is a way that I was trying to do this a couple of years ago, and I believe it's still a feature in LinkedIn. You can give a recommendation to someone you're connected with on LinkedIn,
Yep.
and then when they accept it, that person also gets prompted to say, "Would you like to give a recommendation back?" And that's a very, sheepish way, I guess is the best way to put it, sheepish way to get your positive feedback if you're looking for some of that.
I mean, value for value, right? So, and honestly, if there is somebody you do love working with, give them that compliment because, the things you give out, you get back. So I think I love that recommendation. In fact, I think I may do that today and just go in and do that. Okay, so I don't think people do this very often, is creating a partner pitch deck. And it doesn't have to be like a full-on deck, but you know, leave them with more than just a business card. And nobody even carries business cards anymore. And so think about what you want to leave them with. We used to do flyers all the time, which I know would get thrown in the trash. I started laminating mine and I would give something of value that I know it's like, here's the three things you're going to help. And if I laminated them, I found they kept it. So think about those things. What's going to be helpful for them? And then also let them know, here's what you can expect from me. And so there's nothing wrong with sharing that with them and letting them know, hey, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to focus on a process. I'm going to communicate with your clients. Don't be afraid to build yourself up and say, maybe it's your guarantee. Maybe it's your mantra. I mean, maybe it's like, think outside the box. But being able to leave something with them, I think is something that a lot of people don't do anymore, or send a video, whatever it is. Video is great. Matt, you and I love video because it helps to build that trust. And so think about recording a video. Honestly, you can even you meet with someone, grab your phone, sit in your car, do a quick little video message. Hey, love meeting with you. This is what I took away from our meeting. Here's what I'm going to do. And then you can text it to them. But think about those things that you can do to go above and beyond when they're going to leave that meeting and just go on to the next thing.
Yep. I, I think someone told me this line that if you were hosting a meeting, you probably think about that meeting more intensely than the person that you invited to the meeting after you leave, right? And so like when I go back and I look back at my meeting notes, I go, oh, I missed this point, I missed this point, I missed this point. And then I just got into the habit. I just throw my transcript into Chat GPT right now,
Yeah.
and I say, just please, recap this. I send it out, and I say, also, by the way, if there's anything that important that I missed that you thought we hit on, please let me know. Right? It's like let's make sure that I didn't miss any of the key points that you wanted to talk about as well.
Yep. I love that. Well, especially if you're doing a Zoom meeting, makes it easy to do that.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So the whole goal of doing this series is to help you to create a plan. And so for you to listen, and I always say you all who are attending this or watching the recording of it, you're giving us your time. And I hate to tell you this, you ain't ever going to get it back. And so our goal is always to make sure we're delivering value. But then your part of it and giving your time is to create that plan. So take it to the next step and use the workbooks that we've created, and then create a 30-day partner engagement plan. And know what you're doing, and you can divide it into your different categories, your A, B, and C. But look at, okay, week one, what am I doing? Who am I calling? Who am I emailing? Put down those targets. Put them into your calendar. Put them into your planner, whatever it is as far as your strategy. Hold yourself accountable. Week two, now you're going to do a coffee or a Zoom. You're going to build more rapport. You're going to listen to them. And it can be maybe one thing that you're going to do that week, that you're going to offer them something of value. You're going to maybe set up a meeting to help to talk about their business plan, whatever that is. Week three, share some market data, share a relevant guide. June is homeownership month. And so I do some work with the National Association of Mortgage Brokers, and I'm creating a whole bunch of content for June homeownership month. One of them is a guide. So it's like those are kind of things that you can do. Hey, would any of your buyers or sellers benefit from having a guide how to buy a home in this market? Well, yes, as a matter of fact, they would. Guess what? I have one to send over to you. So think about that value add. And then the fourth week, maybe, send some ideas on things you can do, especially your maybe doing a webinar together or do a co-branded event together. Those are kind of things. And then write those down. And even if it's you start with one partner, but what you're going to do, how you're going to reach them, and then what you're going to say. So make it very simple for you to do this, but you have to do that. This is your part of it to create that plan.
Yep,
Okay.
accountability. It's all about accountability. That's what this whole thing has been about since we started this.
Yeah, exactly. Um, I'm big on education, so I love doing things like co-hosting webinars. There's a lot of it's free to do that. You can easily put together any kind of program, whether, maybe you're doing DSCR loans, maybe you're doing VA, maybe you're doing FHA, maybe you're doing, build, whatever the program is, host a webinar. Maybe it's first time homebuyer tips. Maybe it's how much do you really need for a down payment? Whatever it is, invite them to do it with you. And your title partners, guess what? That's another good thing too. Do a social media, collab, do a mashup, do something where you co-create some different things together, create a PDF download. I love in-person workshops, even if you only have 5 people there. If you get into the habit of doing this consistently, it can be a standout for you.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different partners that would be willing to help too. I mean, AMCs now all have salespeople that are
Yeah.
anxious to go talk to people. Um, MI partners have always been really fantastic. Their education is phenomenal.
Mhm.
Title partners, like we talked about, your investor account executives. I mean, there's just a wealth of people to partner and network with out there that are able to help maybe even bring some ideas that you haven't thought of to help enrich your business.
Right. Okay, and then finally, influence equals trust over time. So this is the long game. This is something that is important for you to have a long time strategy to make sure you're doing your follow-up, how often you're doing it. Is it weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, or is it randomly whenever I remember it? Hopefully not the last. Having that cadence is very important. And then making that commitment and creating a system whatever you're doing for tagging a task, a reminder, put together a system for you to be able to do this. I think that's very, very important.
My young sales team and even a lot of the people I talk to, the follow-up in our industry is I'd rank it pretty bad,
Mhm.
right? And it's not because we don't have good intentions. It's just because I think that we get scattered and maybe we're just not using a systematic approach to our follow-up, right? And so I'm in social media quite a bit, and all I ever see is what CRM works, what system is this, and it's like the CRM that works is the one that you leverage and use, right? And
Right.
that's the answer that we always hear.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, if anyone's going to walk away with anything, which is really self-evaluate your own follow-up and your own consistency of follow-up. I mean, there are plenty of studies that show you out there that if you make more than 3 phone calls to the same person, the chances of you making 5 or 6 probably fall off dramatically, right? Most people stop trying after 6 or 7 efforts to try to get a hold of somebody or maybe do something or collaborate on anything. It's just the systematic approach of follow up, and we just have to be better about it in our industry.
Yeah, and truly, you know, if you can't get in to someone that you really want to get into, find another strategy. Maybe someone else knows them and they can do an introduction. Think about what that looks like, and don't just give up. Statistics used to be, Matt, that the sale was made after 5 phone calls. That has increased now to 8.
Yeah.
So the consistency, it happens, I mean, if you stick with it, it will happen. But when you quit, nothing's going to happen. So
Yeah.
that's important. Okay. Our final webinar in the series will be Tuesday, June 16th, and that's we're going to put all of this together and develop a plan for you to scale. And that's really the goal of the series that we've been doing. Matt, thank you so much. Always great to do these with you. I love so much of your insight and your expertise, and appreciate all that you do. For everyone attending, thank you for your watching. Grab the worksheet, go do the homework, and then put together your list of partners and start making those phone calls.
Thanks, Ginger.
Thanks.